Visit 815 here with another video. This is a little unique video because it's not a rifle, it's not a pistol, it's not a revolver, it's not a bow and arrow, it's not a tomahawk, it's not a knife. In fact, it's been totally different. And I don't know if we're going to see a lot of these, but today we're going to do a little cleanup job for a buddy of mine. He had this starter pistol here. Before everybody can get hot and bothered, it has been safety checked. It is a dummy pistol, so it can actually shoot rounds, but people have been killed by dummy rounds before in movies and stuff, but this is a track starter pistol, so it should be safe anyway, but it has been safety checked because you treat every firearm, even if it looks just like a firearm and isn't, as loaded and as real. Anyway, this is a model B22 22 short blank pistol revolver. You can look up the words. It's a revolver, as a cylinder, but it is also a pistol. Sorry, it's just not semi-automatic. Anyway, it's a model blank, model 22B, B for blank, I'm assuming. It's made in the U.S. It's an NEF made in Gardner, Massachusetts. So anyway, nice handle, nice heavy, thick wooden handle there. Really does feel nice in the hand, and it fits so nicely in the hand. It makes that natural Y shape. That it really is a shame that it's just the starter's pistol, because it really feels good in the hand, and I can get a really nice high grasp there if this was a actual revolver. But the problem this one has, is you'll see in the pictures that I'll flash up either during while I'm speaking or after, is it's got a little bit of corrosion. It was left out in the rain once or twice, and the corrosion built up. And this is the backup starter pistol, so it's not used entirely that often, but it's used about once a year when there needs to be guys at different posts to start the track meet, different races. So it is used once a year for the big end of the year races and stuff. So it needs to be cleaned out. So I'm going to go ahead and clean off all the corrosion very carefully and gingerly, because this has sentimental value. You could go buy a new one, but it has sentimental value, so be very careful with it. I'm going to clean it up with some solvents, going to give it a nice little oiling, let it dry, kind of wipe it off clean again, protect it. I'm debating what I'm going to put on to leave this the final coat, because it will be sitting for a couple months before it's actually used, and then after that another year before it's used again. So I want something to kind of hold the ground in between. But anyway, let's take a look at this in some pictures, and I'll go ahead and break it down for you. Alright, I'm on my temporary bench out here, and we're going to break this down. First thing to do is make sure it is unloaded, and actually this is really hard to do because you can't see in there, and you can't really check it. So to make sure it's unloaded, you actually have to disassemble part of it. So there's this pin on the left side. You can compress, see if I can show you it sideways. And when you compress it, it allows this front pin, the cylinder pin, to come out. So I'm just going to compress it, and then I'm going to pull that cylinder pin out. And I'll show you that right there. Let it come in focus. I need to cover it with my hand so it comes in focus. Whoops. High is low, low is high. There you go. And this isn't the firing pin, even though it looks kind of like a firing. It's just a cylinder pin. But as you can see, although it's not coming in focus as well as I would like, there you go. There's a good amount of corrosion on there, a little bit of rust, mainly rust, but that shouldn't be that big of a deal, so I'll set that off to the side for now. And then the cylinder just comes right out. The cylinder is where we're going to do most of our work. Let's see if I can show you that. There you go. See there, it's got a little bit of pitting, a little corrosion, a good amount of rust. The cylinders themselves don't look too bad, just the I cannot think of it. The holes, I can't think of the word right now, aren't too bad, but the cylinder top and bottom is pretty bad. Look at that. Oh, that's horrible. So we'll get that cleaned out so it's working fine again. And then in the revolver itself, if you look right in there, that's not so great, but it's really bad. If I can show you this way, maybe. Right there, look at that. Ugh. It's a sad thing to see something like that. But we're going to fix it up, and it'll be right as rain. I'm also toying with taking off the handle. For now, I'm just going to leave it on there. The grip, it feels so nice. It's such a good grip. It's a little loose, a little oversized. It's not a super snug fit. You can see there on the side right there. It goes a little higher than the top of the tang. Not that big a deal. The finish is worn off. I don't think, even if this was my own, I don't think I'd even sand it and redo it. I think I'd like that wear there. That's years of service. So it's got a screw head on each side. So I'm contemplating taking taking that off and checking out the housing, because I'm pretty sure that's going to be pretty nasty in there. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and let these pieces start soaking. Not so much because I'm worried about the cylinder pin, but this piece I want to have time to soak. So I'm going to use a little CLP to start with, and I know it's not a solvent. Well, actually, you know what? I'll use CLP second. I'm going to use some Hops 9 to really break that down. I'll put it on, I'll let it sit for maybe 15-30 minutes. I'll wipe it off, and then I'll go ahead and go through with the CLP and let that soak for a number of hours. Now I'm using the Q-tip because I can so easily get in those 22 holes there. I went all the way around them already, and I'm just going to flip it over and do it again. 6, 7, 8, 9 slots. Going to get everything nice and wet with that Hops 9 solvent. If you want to call it Hops 9, that's fine with me. I've actually heard one of the guys on the manufacturer's YouTube page call it Hops, which I thought was odd. Because, I mean, it could be right, it's just, I kind of want to believe that the guy working for him would know how to say it, but man, it just doesn't look like it fits that way with etymology of how words and names function, but whatever. Either way, it's what I call it. You know what I'm talking about, you saw the bottle. Alright, and we're not scrubbing with this Q-tip, I'm just applying a light coat of solvent so it can sit on there and do its work. Look how much crud I got off there just with the Q-tip without even scrubbing. I just dipped it in the solvent and applying a light layer on there. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and take off those grips, but I'm going to need a special tool. I'm not going to use a regular screwdriver on it. Got my really high-end kit here. Really, super expensive. Your $10 gunsmithing set from Walmart. Does the job, so I'm not complaining. And the heads are really nice. What I like about them is they're so soft. They're such a soft metal that you don't have to worry about scratching the screw heads. Not that this is a real problem in this particular case, but for other things I work on especially, I like that. But when I'm working on somebody else's firearm, which this is, I like to be extra respectful. That came off to a couple turns. I can show you the back there. Back shows it's been used. A little bit of the water damage came in because the wood appears to be, untreated in the back. So this kind of veneer, this kind of polish was just applied to the outside but not in the inside, which is fine because it breathes. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not a critique. It's just how it is. I'm going to put that over to the side, keep it away from my solvents because I want that to stay like it is. Flip over to the other side. Very careful not to scratch the screw head or to go off the side of the screw and scratch the wood on the side, because if you remove just a little bit of that wood, because it's older, it's going to be a little bit softer, then you'll see that scrape there in it. Yeah, there you go. You can actually see here a little bit of the spring mechanism that is imprinted on the side. See that? Kind of neat. A little bit of history here. And then let's go ahead and, since we're opening this up, we'll go ahead and see the spring and everything in there. I'll see if I can block it so you can see it a little bit better. He's got a little corrosion I got to get out of there. I don't like that. I'm glad I opened that up. I don't want to leave that in there. And we'll clean that spring up. Get that all looking nice. And it looks like in this part I can see some, if I can show it to you. Down is up is down in the viewfinder. There we go. Some corrosion there and some gumminess. I'm thinking someone probably at one point put something in there to store it, maybe some gun grease, which is fine. I've got a roll pin up here which I don't need to take off. It's just there to keep the handle secure. I'm looking at the spring, see if I want to take that out. I don't think I actually want to do that. Yeah. That's under a good amount of tension there. And yeah, I see how it's put in there. Wow, okay. So that's not a very, I would have figured it was a little bit tighter firing mechanism than that. I might take that out, but For now, I'm just going to leave it because I'm going to let that stay open. But go ahead and spray this down, or not spray it down, I'm going to wipe it with some Hops 9 and see what it does in about 15 minutes from now. Then I'll come back and I'll wipe that off and give it a little scrubbing and see if I want to apply again to this area. These areas I might be able just to go ahead and use a little CLP rather, to finish kind of cleaning it and leaving a little preservative on there, a little lubricant on there to help protect it for later. Inside the handle here, the grip where it's not going to be cleaned off, in all likelihood for a long time, I might use a little grease to prevent rust or corrosion in there. Anyway, that's it for this part. Alright, we've let this sit for actually a little bit closer to 30 minutes now, so we're just going to take the nylon brush and give it a little scrub and see what we see here. This is the area I'm most concerned with cleaning out. I had a high level of corrosion and buildup there. I have no disillusionment that one application of Hops 9 will get that clean, because it's just going to need to be scrubbed out and worked over again, but kind of curious how well it does with just that little bit of time and with just that little application. It's not like I soaked it, I just used a Q-tip to get it nice and wet. What's nice is, since there's no lead or brass, there's not, the only thing here is just rust on the steel, so there's not a lot of extra metal material to clean off, or residue. And honestly, there's not that much carbon because these loads are so much lighter. There's a little less smokeless powder, hence a little less carbon buildup. However, you give it enough time, yeah, it'll definitely get some on there. Like brushing your teeth, not up and down or left and right, but circles. And until 2 months from now when they decide to teach our kids a different way to brush their teeth. Alright. As you can see, my gloves are getting nice and filthy with the residue coming off. I went ahead and I couldn't handle it. I had to break out the spring, trigger spring, because it had rust on it, and I couldn't open it up, see that rust, and put it back and not worry about it. So I went ahead and took it out. You got the, I'm going to call this the hammer spring rod, but that might not be the right name for it. Trigger spring, not really scrubbing, and I don't know what to call that. And I could look it up, but I'm not going to. If you want to, go ahead and knock yourself out. But the trigger spring rests on that in the frame right here to hold it tight with the frame so that it has something to push against to create tension. Some rust on that. Not too bad, honestly, but it's protected inside the housing of the grip. Alright, so a nice little rub there. I'm going to go ahead and just give it a nice little coat of CLP without wiping any more of the solvent off. I'm going to let that soak for a little bit, and then I'm going to wipe it all off and then do a little detailed check, see what I still have corrosion and rust on. Put a little Hops 9 on there, let that soak again, scrub it again, wipe it off, see what that looks like, and then honestly then I'll have to take a break for this time of the day, go back to this later and do a little bit more scrubbing. But let's go ahead and leave a little coat on this now, and I don't have to worry about slathering too much on because it'll come off later. Get that nice and coated in CLP. Greasy, I mean, cylinder pen, coat that nicely. Now with the CLP it does need time. It's not a solvent by itself, it's a penetrator. The bottle even says it, so you can argue with me, but the own bottle tells you it's a penetrator. It does clean, that's good, but it cleans through penetration. It penetrates the grime and corrosion and junk. I am going to get a little bit on the spring and then wipe it off dry. Because it's just, mainly because in this particular firearm it's not going to be cleaned very often, and this part might never come out of the blank gun again. Because it's not its intended use or purpose. It's not a personal defense weapon, it's not even just a recreational shooting gun. it's a starter pistol. So it comes out of this into the sun a little bit of a year, and that's it. So look how that glistens. The frame was so dry, it was crying out, "Oil me, oil me!" And I'm like, "I will, but first you must be clean because you're filthy." Alright, I'm going to slather that all over it. And again, I'm not going to leave it like this. That's crazy. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this sit on there. I'm going to let it do what CLP does, penetrate. You can already see it's starting to loosen up some of the crud there. We'll let it penetrate into the frame, and then I'm going to wipe that off. Alright. Alright. And you can see there in the handle I've taken the spring out and the mechanism. Alright, so we'll leave this, let it sit. I'm going to let this sit for probably an hour, maybe a little bit longer, and then I'll wipe that off. So I've been able to get this bottom pin out, and it relieves this pin and this pin. If you get them removed, you can take it out. This pin I didn't get to move yet. This pin I did, so I moved it out, and I could clean a little bit more of the trigger, this little catch back here, and the trigger guard. This one I got 90% out, and it just wouldn't go, and it took out my brass punch, and it just didn't want to go. So I just put it back in because I want to make sure it's still functional. What I'm currently working on is there's a little piece of fuzz there, microscopic pin here, and what that holds is when the hammer comes forward, the transfer bar, it has a transfer bar, will actually be hit, and what actually gets struck is some little pieces. This is the little itty bitty pin, and this is the spring, but this is the striker. This itty bitty little striker there is held back by this spring, and this pin holds it in place, and the hammer will hit the transfer bar and cluck it forward to hit the round and make it ignite. This was really dirty, so I put some Hopsnine on it, let it soak a little bit. I'm going to scrub it with a little brush. I might need a little pliers wrapped in painter's tape so I don't mar this up or cut it up, but yet I don't have to hold it with my bare hands when I scrub it. But really important not to lose these small pieces. So I like to use these little trays, because then it doesn't go anywhere, and then you can throw them away after you're done. Anyway, that's where I'm at so far. I would really got this channel here where the cylinder pin goes cleaned out really well. A lot of the corrosion came off inside there. You can see there's discoloration still. I don't know that I'm going to do much about that, but if you look right up in here, got a lot of that corrosion off. So I'm pleased with that. I'd really love if I could have got that pin all the way out. I took this this mechanism out and took out the spring. That was a bugger to get back in there. Holy smokes, was that tough. But I took it out, got it cleaned up. It was looking pretty grimy, but now it looks pretty good. And really smooth. I'm liking that. Anyway, gonna keep working on it. Maybe if I dribble some more solvent down there I can loosen that, but I almost don't even feel like giving it a go. Anyway, I'm gonna try to get the rest worked on as much as I can and see what it looks like when we're done. Fortunately, I couldn't get the hammer out. I'm gonna try again later, but for now I wanted to get a nice little shine on that because it is in fact a nice stainless steel. As you see, I already got a little bit of a shine to it. Little mother's polish goes a long way, so I can glint. The rest of the gun may not be too flashy, but that hammer, ooh, it'll shine like the sun. As I'm working with the solvents, I like to keep a fresh bag for trash. As I use the Q-tips and cloth, I'll throw them away, and then when I'm done, I'll go ahead and I'll bag it up, tie it off, then take it out, so that way those solvents aren't still stinking and putting those fumes out in the trash can. A lot of times I'll tie them up and have a bunch of bags in one bag and take them out to throw away. I went ahead and decided I want to polish not only this exterior hammer so it shines. You can see a nice little glisten on that already. But there were some other parts that I could put a shine on, and I thought, well, even though they're hidden, I'll go ahead and do it. So I've got the trigger spring guide rod, and the I don't even know what to call this piece, but this is the trigger assembly. And the spring I'm leaving alone. although I'm just wiping. So you see actually by wiping it I've got a nice clean face to it, and likewise with the this piece, which I cannot think of the name of for the life of me currently. And then the guide rod and that goes in the handle and the grip there. Get a little closer for you. You can see how it's shining now. It would just look like a nail, like a dirty nail when I pulled it out, and now it's got a shine coming to it. But I'm still working on putting a nice smooth shine on it. And you see now you see nothing on there because I've actually worked all of the tarnish and grime off. Okay, so that looks good. But what I did is I used some mother's polish to get that nice and smooth. Now it's hidden, so it's not an aesthetic thing, but it just makes the surface extra glassy smooth. And although there's no break on this, the spring does ride up and down it. And since this revolver likely will not be taken apart, especially in the handle, this part really doesn't come out overly easily. And I wouldn't suggest people that have never done this before with rifles or pistols or anything mess with this kind of stuff without knowing what you're doing a little bit. Also wear safety eyewear. This will take out your eye. There was a point when I was taking it out and putting it back in, and then I was taking it out the second time, and it, boom! Let's see, this piece actually fell down somehow, and the spring, and this piece fell down. The spring shot up, and I actually felt it hit the hair on the front of my forehead. So that was maybe an inch and a half away from smacking me in the eyeball. Had I not had safety glasses on, that would have been catastrophe. With the safety glasses, it would have been a little bit more alarming than it was. Anyway, let's get to where we are now. So I've put some more solvent on the starter pistol and on the cylinder. Went ahead in the cylinder, and I've been working around in there trying to get this sucker clean. I got a lot of the rust out of these parts with a little bit of a pick action. I can kind of get in there, and now I just taken them. Been loosening up with a little bit of a Q-tip with the solvent to try to help keep it wet with solvent so I can continue chipping away at that. I like for these all to be nice, smooth, clean lines, and go ahead and try to take off the rest of the corrosion. The discoloration is going to stay. That's just part of it now, but just trying to get off so if you run your finger over it, it would feel nice and smooth. So I've been doing a lot of that. Since I've been scrubbing it with solvent, I was going to try a couple of these pins to see if I can get those pins out, because if I could, I really would like to remove the trigger guard, because there's some rust that's hidden up in there and I can't quite get it without taking that off. But it is what it is, and we'll keep working on it.